A monstrous maw filled with rows of razor-sharp teeth roars into the void. The year is 2045 and Earth has become a battlefield against these alien horrors. In a flash of violence and a spray of red, another soldier falls. The attacks are swift and brutal, leaving no room for escape. And towering over the fallen, a far more menacing creature makes its entrance. One young soldier can only stare, believing this is the end of his story. But the killing blow never lands, whipping past him with impossible speed. A mysterious figure in white armor appears, just in time for a dramatic hero entrance. The monstrous leader seems almost surprised by this sudden defiance. This lone warrior now stands against the overwhelming darkness, a single point of light. But the lone warrior isn't the only one fighting back. Even the mysterious white-armored savior is sent flying by a crushing blow. Elsewhere, another soldier remains completely unfazed by the chaos. He returns fire with cold, calculated precision. This is Han Sung, commander of Earth's last defense force. He orders the young soldier to get up and keep moving. For decades, humanity has been locked in this desperate, losing war. After countless battles, only a handful of these elite soldiers remain. But Han Sung believes their ultimate goal is finally within reach. And then a massive golden sigil erupts, stopping him in his tracks. Han Sung can only stare in disbelief at the impossible sight before him. The sigil erupts, engulfing the commander in a blinding pillar of golden light. And just like that, he's gone, leaving only his rifle clattering to the ground. A voice booms from the void as ethereal chains bind Han Sung, pulling him from his world. He materializes in a strange hall, suspended before a crowd of robed figures. Confused and restrained, Han Sung demands to know where he has been taken. An old man steps forward, welcoming the so-called otherworldly hero to their empire. He then gets straight to the point. They need him to defeat a demon king and save their world. No pressure. But Han Sung is having none of it, insisting he has a war to fight back home. His protests are cut short by a single word and a flash of overwhelming power. The Oath of Restraint is activated, racking Han Sung's body with golden energy. The old man calmly explains the magic is harmless, as long as he's civil. Forced to his knees, Han Sung can only wonder when kidnapping became a civil affair. The old man then repeats his plea, offering a sword to seal the deal. It clatters to the ground before him, a symbol of the role he's being forced into. But they offer a glimmer of hope, save their world, and they might send him back. Their glowing eyes, however, make it clear this request is non-negotiable. Trapped and with no other way home, the commander makes his decision. He reluctantly accepts their terms, agreeing to fight their war. And just like that, Han Sung, a soldier of Earth, is reborn as an otherworldly hero. He trained endlessly, pushing his body to its absolute limits. He slashed his way through hordes of monsters on countless expeditions. A decade of his life was sacrificed to finally defeat the Demon King. With the war won, he thought he was finally free to go home. But the old man who summoned him had other plans for his hero. His hope shatters as the old man casually moves the goalposts. His new targets aren't monsters, but those who oppose the Empire's rule. Just one more target, they promise, a knight named Bottle. Yeah, right. The Oath of Restraint flares to life, a painful answer to his defiance. He realizes he's not a hero, just a dog on a leash for these bastards. And so, Han Sung's endless war continues in the burning Teutonia kingdom. His target, the knight Betrayal, can only stare in disbelief at the blade in his gut. Battle calls him a fool, but Han Sung can only say he had no other choice. He apologizes, but Battle already knows who he is, the Empire's famed hero. With his dying breath, Battle tells him not to waste his apology. He warns Han Sung that once his usefulness ends, he'll be thrown away just like him. With the deed done, Han Sung clings to the hope that this was the final task. But that hope is instantly crushed as the golden chains of the oath tighten once more. A new figure appears, congratulating the hero with a blade to his throat. You know, standard procedure. Han Sung recognizes his captor, Count Brandenburg, another one of the Empire's dogs. Brandenburg mockingly praises Han Sung for his years as the Empire's dog. The bitter truth finally dawns on Han Sung. They never planned to send him home. Brandenburg scoffs at the idea, driving a blade deep into Han Sung's chest. With a cold farewell, Brandenburg leaves the hero to bleed out on the ground. He always knew they wouldn't let him go, but the betrayal still cuts deep. A strange energy glows in his chest as he vows to make the entire Empire pay. That night, as the hero's life ends, a new one begins elsewhere. The newborn child is greeted by the loving, tearful face of his new mother. but his attention is drawn to a man in the background whose face seems familiar. And then the memory clicks into place. This is the man who betrayed him. His mind races, connecting the dots to the man who stood by his betrayer. This is Duke Saxon, the most powerful necromancer in the entire empire. And this place must be Necropolis, the infamous Black Tower of forbidden magic. The glowing energy in his chest was a forbidden artifact, the Stone of Reincarnation. And by a cruel twist of fate, he's been reborn as the son of Duke Saxon himself. Talk about a promotion, from the Empire's dog to its prized puppy. But this new life isn't for pleasure, it's for mastering the dark arts. And once he has that power, he'll make every single one of them pay for their betrayal. His new parents, however, are a little concerned by their unusually quiet newborn. The baby just stares back, his mind already plotting a decades-long revenge. He's a hardened soldier, not a baby, and he refuses to cry. A nanny checks him over, finding him unusually calm but perfectly healthy. But Duke Saxon worries that a tearless child is considered a bad omen. The nanny offers a simple, if brutal, solution to get the waterworks going. Yet even a sharp smack can't break the discipline of a veteran commander. His parents simply find it amusing, calling him a stubborn child. His mother takes her turn, while Han Sung silently fumes at their idiocy. But it seems she's about to try her hand at this unique parenting method. The humiliation is finally too much, and a single frustrated tear escapes. With that, his mother smiles, her strange test apparently complete. He's still reeling from the humiliation of being forced to cry. But as his mother's hand touches him, something unexpected happens. The gentle warmth triggers a long-forgotten memory within Han Sung. He remembers a life of endless battle, cold steel and spilt blood. He can't recall the last time he felt anything other than pain. His past was a lonely existence, devoid of any real human connection. But the love from his new mother is a feeling he hasn't known in decades, and the hardened soldier who hadn't shed a tear since childhood finally breaks, letting out all the sorrow he'd held inside. 8 years pass, and our boy now has a new name, Dale. His parents discuss their son's studious nature, a trait he inherited from his father. But his mother reminds her husband, Alan, of a promise he made regarding their son. The promise, it turns out, was to never teach Dale the forbidden art of necromancy. She seems relieved that he hasn't forgotten his important vow. He assures her not to worry, as he has a special gift planned for Dale's birthday. Their late-night chat is suddenly interrupted by a frantic knock. A panicked maid bursts in, shouting that something has happened to young Master Dale. The parents' expressions immediately shift to ones of pure dread. They rush to find him collapsed in the study, surrounded by a powerful blue aura. An uncontrollable torrent of magical energy erupts from the boy's small frame. His mother rushes to his side, frantic with worry as Dale assures her he's fine. But his father, Duke Saxon, can clearly sense the powerful mana still lingering in the air. He's stunned that a child of only 8 could already manifest such raw power. The Duke's gaze turns sharp, demanding to know if Dale was the one responsible. Dale panics internally, realizing his mistake could expose his true adult mind. But instead of suspicion, the Duke's intimidating expression breaks into a proud smile. He praises his son's incredible talent, guess Prodigy beats bad omen. His only regret is that he's forbidden from teaching Dale necromancy himself. His mother sends him away, while Dale wonders how he'll get his revenge now. As he leaves, Dale overhears his father speaking to his mother, Elena. The Duke reveals he has a special gift in mind for his son. Shortly after, the grand banquet for Dale's 8th birthday begins. Nobles from across the dukedom gather, eagerly awaiting the guest of honor. But upstairs, Dale looks down on the party, already feeling overwhelmed. He's not used to this kind of celebration, especially after his life as a disposable hero. The life of a noble son still feels strange and uncomfortable to him. His mind keeps drifting back to the mana outburst from the night before. Just reminiscing about his past life was enough to trigger his immense power. He's now determined to learn necromancy, but he needs to convince his father. His thoughts are interrupted as his mother arrives to bring him to the party. Elena wishes her son a happy birthday, but she's not alone. Dale is immediately suspicious of the hooded figure standing beside her. His mother introduces the guest as an elder from the Blue Magic Tower. This is Sophia, a master of water magic and one of the tower's most powerful mages. And it turns out this is his father's special gift. Sophia will be his new teacher. Dale is stunned. He's being tutored by one of the most respected mages in the Empire. He He realizes this is his mother's way of keeping him from learning dark magic. Sophia then asks for a private word with her new student. Out in the cold, she confirms his suspicions. She can only teach him water magic. But she can already tell he's disappointed, sensing his true desire lies elsewhere. Sophia smirks, having already figured out Dale's true ambition. She explains the reason is common knowledge across the entire empire. To win his mother's hand, Duke Saxon made a sacred vow. He promised he would never pass his forbidden arts to their child. A vow so significant, the entire Black Magic Tower wore white to their wedding. With that promise in place, his path to necromancy is completely blocked. But Sophia offers a sly alternative, asking if he'll follow her lead. Dale is hesitant, questioning why an elf would endorse such an unnatural art. His concern only seems to amuse his new mysterious teacher. She counters with a sharp question. Is a priest's resurrection magic any more natural? Her logic is surprisingly sound, and Dale realizes this elf might be a good teacher after all. With that settled, Sophia officially begins their first lesson. Her first task for Dale is to complete his first mana circle. Dale is thrilled, knowing this is the first major step to casting real magic. Following her instructions, he places a hand over his heart and focuses. His mind drifts to the fundamental difference between this world and his old one. This new world is saturated with mana, a raw power only ancient beings can handle. For mortals, a filter is needed to keep from, spontaneously combusting. This filter is the mana heart circle, a pathway engraved around the heart. Sophia watches closely as Dale begins the delicate process of forming his own. Sophia explains that forming a circle usually takes a month, so he shouldn't rush. But Dale casually informs her that he's already finished the task. Sophia can only stare back, her mind completely short-circuiting. She realizes he formed a perfect circle in just a few minutes, a feat that seems impossible. The raw power radiating from him confirms it. This kid is a natural-born prodigy. Intrigued, Sophia decides to push him further, asking him to release the mana. Dale closes his eyes and focuses, ready to attempt the next step. Normally, even this simple act is a major hurdle for any beginner mage. He recalls his past life, where his power was limited to crude magic engravings. But now, with the talent of a master necromancer, his potential is limitless. He focuses, drawing the raw mana from his circle to his fingertips. He forges it into a weapon, a shard of ice meant for the Empire's throat. The result is a perfectly formed, glowing crystal of pure magical energy. Sophia is stunned. He didn't just release mana, he shaped it into a perfect spell. Dale humbly notes that he focused on form over power for this first attempt. He lets it fly, sending the bolt hurtling towards a nearby tree. The weak bolt shatters on impact with a surprising amount of force. And by surprising, I mean it completely obliterates the entire tree. She turns back to the boy, her mind struggling to process what she just saw. The precision, the power. This isn't the work of a child, it's a master's. Sophia's mind races, trying to comprehend the impossible talent before her. She examines the frozen remains of the tree, her shock rendering her almost speechless. She had expected a simple mana release, not a perfectly formed elemental spell. Dale, ever the overachiever, worries that he's somehow messed up. Her shock quickly melts away, replaced by a look of pure fascination. She recognizes the spell's formula as something no mere child could create. It was a three-part process: rotation, acceleration, and finally congestion. A combination known as the golden ratio, a staple of military-grade magic. And for an 8-year-old to cast such a lethal combat spell is unheard of. She reassures him, now seeing exactly why his father finds the promise so regrettable. Sophia reports back to Duke Saxon, who demands to know why she can't teach his son. The Duke argues that Dale's rapid progress should make him an easy student. But Sophia reveals that he didn't just form a circle, he cast a lethal spell instantly. She explains it was a military-grade formula, far beyond what any child should know. Her conclusion is simple and chilling. Young Lord Dale has a natural talent for killing. The Duke wonders if her tower's pacifist ideals are the reason she's refusing. Sophia calmly clarifies that's not the case at all. In fact, she feels a strong desire to personally guide such a unique talent. Confused, the Duke asks why she would decline if she's so eager to teach him. She reveals the true problem. Dale is already aiming for his father's forbidden magic. Sophia acknowledges the Duke's famous love story and the promise he made for it. But she argues that a vow shouldn't be allowed to stifle such a monumental talent. Outside, Dale presses his ear to the door, trying to listen in on the conversation. He slumps to the ground in frustration, certain he's the topic of their debate. He reflects on his mistake, realizing he showed far too much power for a beginner. From now on, he'll have to be much more careful not to reveal his true abilities. His brooding is interrupted as a voice calls his name from down the hall. The hardened soldier instantly vanishes, replaced by the face of an innocent, happy child. He cheerfully greets a knight in shining armor, a man he calls Uncle Helmet. Dale runs to him with a wide smile, asking the knight where he's been all this time. The knight explains he's been away fulfilling his duty to the ducal family, a duty that apparently involves fighting off hordes of scary monsters. Dale immediately guesses that his uncle has been fighting in the dungeons, and the mention of dungeons brings back some unpleasant memories. Ever since the Demon King's reign, monster overflows have plagued the land. The knights of each domain are tasked with clearing them, a job especially dangerous in Saxon. And Dale knows exactly who's to blame for that, his past self. After he defeated the Demon King, Duke Saxon was ordered to clean up the mess. Or as Dale calls it, the Empire's version of leftover dumping. He tells Helmet to be careful, earning a surprised and touched look from the knight. The knight kneels before Duke Saxon, who has just emerged from his study. The Duke thanks Helmet for his hard work clearing the recent dungeon raid. Their conversation is interrupted by the arrival of Dale's mother, Elena. She calls out to her son, her face beaming with pride. She rushes over to congratulate Dale on forming his first mana circle. His father joins in, offering to grant him any birthday wish he desires. Dale hesitates, knowing his true wish for necromancy would be too suspicious. So he pivots, asking for the one thing that will completely derail the conversation. His parents awkwardly agree to try, while the knights struggle to keep a straight face. That night, the grand estate of Duke Saxon is quiet under the moonlight. Back in his room, Dale finds that acting like a child is surprisingly exhausting. He chalks up his fatigue to the strain of using magic for the first time. But his rest is shattered as a dark memory suddenly floods his mind. He's once again face to face with his betrayer, Count Brandenburg. The Phantom mocks him, asking if his comfortable new life has made him soft. He taunts Hansung's past self, questioning if he's forgotten his vow of revenge. The Vision's voice echoes in his head, a chilling promise that the Empire will find him, and they won't stop until every trace of his existence has been completely erased. The sheer intensity of the memory triggers another violent mana outburst. He clutches his chest as the raw power threatens to make his heart explode. He recognizes the symptoms immediately. This is a mana rampage. The pain is overwhelming as he curses the Empire that started it all. He flees his room, hoping the cold night air will calm the storm inside him. But the rampage only intensifies, threatening to tear him apart from within. Just as he's about to lose control, his new teacher appears because of course she does. Sophia recognizes his talent but also senses a dangerous malice fueling his power. Without hesitation, she places a hand on his chest to help him regain control. She knows that if his hatred consumes his magic, the damage will be irreversible. With a calm focus, she begins to soothe the raging torrent of energy. In an instant, the rampage is gone, leaving Dale holding a stable orb of pure mana. Sophia gets his attention, her expression now serious and focused. She explains that magic is a mirror of the heart, unique to every user. And Dale's talent, she concludes, is a dangerous one for taking lives. But that's exactly why she's giving him a gift, a dark, forbidden tome. Dale is stunned to realize it's a grimoire for necromancy. Sophia smiles, believing it's fate that she will be his guide on this dark path. With a gentle voice, she finally wishes him a happy birthday. Overwhelmed by the gesture, Dale embraces his new teacher without a word. She's taken aback but pats his head, calling him a needy one. Guess he's a hugger now. A few days later, their first official lesson begins in the snowy northern plains. Sophia presents Dale with his first official target, a simple snow rabbit. She instructs him to recall the feeling of hunting with his father. The poor, unsuspecting bunny has no idea it's about to be a magical test subject. Dale focuses, channeling his mana into a familiar lethal form. He unleashes a massive shard of energy, aimed with deadly precision. The resulting blast completely vaporizes the target in a flash of blue light. Sophia explains that even when casting the same spell, its form is unique to the mage. Standing over the bloody remains, she elaborates on her point. She then asks Dale if he understands why this is the case. Magic, she reveals, is a mirror that reflects the true nature of one's heart. Dale looks a little lost, realizing magic is more than just pointing and shooting. Sophia explains that spell names are just concepts to help shape a mental image. The red magic tower, for instance, bases its destructive magic on strength and order, while the blue magic tower, her home, values harmony and balance in its spells. Each tower's core philosophy becomes the very foundation of their unique magic. She smiles, seeing that he's trying to keep up with the advanced lecture, but she decides that's enough theory for an 8-year-old. It's time for the practical lesson, raising his very first zombie. Dark energy swirls around the rabbit's corpse as it begins to stir. So much for Peter Cottontail. Necromancy, she explains, is the art of controlling the dead with mana strings. She explains the key control points are the head, spine, and knees. By tying mana threads to these points, a necromancer can puppet the dead. The rabbit rises, its eyes glowing with dark energy, and Sophia praises Dale's success.
Eager to continue, Dale asks to move on to the next lesson immediately.
Sophia's next task is a defensive spell, Frozen Armor. Dale focuses, his eyes flaring with the same raw power he showed before. A torrent of ice magic erupts, forming a protective shell around his undead minion. The result is a perfectly formed suit of ice armor, earning more praise from his teacher. But Sophia isn't done. She decides it's time to test the armor's durability, for science. Dale can only watch as his teacher prepares to blast his new creation to smithereens. Sophia unleashes a powerful bolt of her own, putting his creation to the ultimate test. The ice armor cracks under the immense pressure, but miraculously holds its form. Dale celebrates his success, thrilled that he managed to block his master's attack. Sophia offers her praise, impressed by the strength of his defensive spell. But she can tell he's not satisfied, sensing he has another request in mind. With a confident smile, Dale decides to push his luck a little further. He asks her to teach him the fundamentals of water magic alongside necromancy. Her answer is a swift and brutal no, shattering his triumphant mood instantly. She explains that what he's done so far is just the most basic application of the element. True mastery of water magic, she continues, requires a much deeper level of understanding. She explains that for most beginners, mastering even one type of magic is a challenge. To handle two simultaneously makes one a rare and powerful dual mage. And for a child his age, Sophia calls his request an impossible, excessive ambition. Dale is stunned, unable to believe what he's hearing. After everything he's shown her, she still thinks he's not capable enough. He reminds her of her own words, that they would find his path forward together. His earnest plea catches the usually composed elf completely off guard. She abruptly ends the lesson for the day. Guess that conversation is over. That night, Dale retreats to the massive ducal library undeterred. If she won't teach him, he's determined to prove he can master it all on his own. He'll show her he's more than capable, forcing her to teach him everything. His intense focus is broken as a familiar voice calls him back to reality. The next day, Sophia notes his exhaustion, but Dale says he was preparing something. He confidently assures his master that he's ready for their next lesson. And with a single gesture, he reveals what he's been working on all night. He's combined necromancy and water magic, creating an ice-armored undead. Sophia is stunned, admitting he's already mastered the very basics she taught him. But Dale isn't just satisfied with mastering the basics. He's an overachiever, remember? He adds a final flourish, causing the ice armor to detonate outwards. Sophia can only stare in disbelief. He's just used an advanced combination spell. Sophia wonders if there's even more to his little demonstration. The undead rabbit begins to gather a volatile sphere of dark energy. It then unleashes the condensed power in a violent forward blast. But it's not just dark magic, it's a hybrid explosion of ice and death. Sophia's composure shatters as she's forced to throw up a defensive barrier. The sheer force of the attack surrounds her, a storm of lethal magic. As the dust settles, she can only stare at the boy who created this chaos. Dale calmly explains he combined corpse explosion with ice explosion. He then asks with a grin if this is enough to be considered a dual mage. Just casually. The devastation left behind is a clear and undeniable answer to his question. Sophia admits she's never seen an attack method quite like this. The combination spell didn't just explode. It created a storm of deadly shrapnel. She examines the razor-sharp fragments of ice and bone littering the snow. This isn't just magic. It's a weapon designed purely for the battlefield. She can't help but wonder what kind of mind creates such lethal spells. Dale just looks back, his point more than proven. Their lesson is interrupted as Dale happily runs to greet a familiar face. It's the Knight Helmet, who Dale asks if he's just returned from a dungeon raid. The knight confirms they've just finished clearing out a small monster nest. These are the elite knights of the dukedom. the infamous Black Cavalry. Wielding aura-covered lances, they are the unrivaled cavalry of the dukedom, and leading this elite force is none other than their captain, Sir Helmet. He's not just any knight, he's one of the 7 legendary swordmasters of the continent. Dale, ever the opportunist, reminds his uncle of a promise to teach him swordsmanship. Helmet reassures the boy he hasn't forgotten, as Dale waves him off with a smile. The knight warns him about the cold before riding off into the snowy woods. As Helmet disappears, Sophia suggests it's time for them to head back inside. Later that night, Sophia sits down for a serious discussion with the Duke and Duchess. She gets straight to the point. Dale has already mastered the first circle for both necromancy and water magic. The Duke is stunned, reminding her that they specifically asked her not to teach him the forbidden arts. Sophia confirms she was only supposed to teach him water magic, but she explains that as his mentor, she felt compelled to teach him what he truly wanted. She argues that if Dale wishes to learn, she must be the one to guide him. His mother, however, requests that Sophia stick to the original plan. Sophia agrees to continue her tutelage, and the Duchess seems to accept her terms. But as she turns to leave, she has one final important confession to make. She formally apologizes to the Duke for breaking her promise to him. To everyone's surprise, Elena is ecstatic, thrilled that her son is a dual mage. The Duke admits that while Dale's power is frightening, it's necessary for a future lord. And with that, he breaks his sacred vow, deciding to teach Dale necromancy himself. The Duke sees his son not just as a child, but as a talented successor. He wants Dale to inherit his legacy, to carry on the family's dark arts. But the weight of his broken promise to Elena still hangs heavy on his mind. He reminds her that necromancy is feared, called the magic of death by the public. He admits he wanted to talk her out of it, but his resolve is clear. But Elena embraces him, urging him to train Dale to be strong enough to ignore them. She offers her husband comfort, giving him the support he needs. With her blessing, the Duke's guilt finally fades, replaced by determination. He swears to make his son the greatest necromancer, and so their training begins. But the first lesson starts with a gut punch, as his father expresses his disappointment. The Duke asks if he's been raising the dead without understanding the fundamentals. Dale can only argue that he was just following his master's instructions. So his father brings him to the family's secret magic workshop deep beneath the castle. He forbids Dale from using such crude methods, promising to teach him the true art of necromancy. His first lesson isn't casting spells, but a crash course in advanced anatomy. Fun. Dale reluctantly agrees, staring down a mountain of homework. But for a man with a soldier's discipline, memorizing a few books is child's play. After mastering what amounts to a medical degree, he's finally ready for the practical exam. With a proud smile, the Duke declares that their real training is about to begin, and Dale is more than ready to learn the power he needs for his revenge. His first practical lesson begins with a fresh goblin corpse on the slab. His father seems amused by his son's perplexed expression. He explains that true skill isn't about the quality of the corpse, but the warlock's control. The Duke then challenges him to animate this ordinary undead soldier. Dale gathers his mana, ready to prove his newfound knowledge, but the strain is already showing on his face. This is harder than he thought. He realizes a bipedal goblin is far more complex than a simple rabbit. He struggles to control the complex network of mana strings needed to move it. His attempt to use rigor mortis for defense has backfired completely. With the joints now locked up, he's left with a stiff, useless puppet. So much for a good first impression. The Duke explains that while hardening the body was a clever idea, it unfortunately makes the corpse about as mobile as a statue. With a simple command to watch, the Duke prepares to show him how it's done. A torrent of dark mana erupts from his hand, engulfing the goblin corpse. Dale can only stare in awe at the overwhelming display of power. The goblin rises, its eyes glowing with the Duke's malevolent energy. His father then moves on to the next lesson, repurposing the body. He explains that a ribcage is meant to protect a creature's vital organs. But since the dead have no organs to protect, that bone is just wasted potential. The goblin's ribcage bursts outwards, forming a set of deadly bone blades. The Duke explains the core of his art, understanding a target's structure and altering it. Dale is visibly shaken, realizing the true implications of this dark magic. This, his father declares, is the very foundation of black magic. Dale looks up at his father, a serious question forming on his lips. He asks not just for spells, but for the core philosophy of the Black Magic Tower. The Duke's expression softens into a proud, knowing smile. He asks his son if he's truly ready to learn the truth. Kneeling before him, the Duke reveals that truth can only be found in death. Therefore, he explains, a necromancer must first understand one crucial thing. To reach that truth, one must first comprehend the true weight of life itself. The lesson triggers a dark memory of his past life as a ruthless warrior. He remembers standing over a defeated foe who begs the hero for mercy. But in that life, mercy was a luxury he could never afford. The vision shatters as his father's voice calls him back to the present. Dale snaps back to reality, his father shaking him with a worried look. The boy is pale and sweating, the weight of his past clearly taking its toll. He tries to brush it off, but the ghost of his former self still haunts him. As the line between his two lives blurs, he insists that he's fine. As his training progresses, word of his forbidden magic spreads throughout the Empire. The Duke breaking his sacred vow for his son becomes a massive political scandal. And Dale, the boy at the center of it all, has captured the attention of the entire Empire. Every noble, every mage, every power player now has their eyes fixed on him. A few weeks later, Dale begins a different kind of training. He's on the ducal training grounds, learning the art of the sword. His opponent is none other than his uncle Helmet, the legendary swordmaster. The knight swings his blade, infusing it with a powerful blue aura. This is no simple sparring session. This is a true test of skill. Dale dodges with the speed of a seasoned warrior, not an 8-year-old boy. But Helmet presses the attack, clearly not holding back against his nephew. Dale braces himself, preparing to block a strike that could shatter bone. With a powerful downward strike, Dale meets the swordmaster's block head-on. Watching from the sidelines, even his father is stunned by the boy's ferocity. The force of the blow sends Helmet's training sword flying from his grasp. Helmet laughs it off, but Dale knows a master wouldn't be disarmed so easily. He calls him out, accusing the knight of letting go of the sword on purpose. But Helmet insists the boy's combat techniques were dangerously real. He laments that such incredible sword talent is being wasted on a mage. The knight reminds him that mages are always protected by others in battle. He questions why Dale is pushing himself so hard, wondering about his true motives. Helmet gently advises the boy that there is no need to train to the breaking point. But Dale confirms that he has a very good reason for pushing himself so hard. He argues that the son of a duke shouldn't have to rely on others for protection. Besides, how could he pass up a chance to learn from a legendary swordmaster? The knight can't help but smile, impressed by the boy's ambitious answer. Helmet bursts into laughter, praising Dale's magnificent spirit. Dale is pleased with himself, but their training session is suddenly interrupted. His mother, Elena, approaches, happy to see them in such high spirits. She explains she came to watch him train, but also has some important news. Dale is confused, wondering what she could possibly have to share. She reminds him of the very specific and very awkward birthday gift he asked for. Dale tries to recall his birthday wish, a little confused by his mother's question. He remembers asking for a little sister, much to his parents' complete and utter shock. And the look on his mother's face makes him realize they actually took him seriously. She places a hand on her stomach, telling him he's about to become a big brother. Dale beams with excitement, promising to take good care of his new sibling. 10 months later, Dale is completely captivated by his newborn sister. He gently touches her cheek, finding it hard to believe she's really his sister. The hardened soldier's heart melts, completely won over by her cuteness. His father offers him the chance to hold her, and Dale immediately panics. But with a little encouragement, he nervously takes his sister into his arms. His mother points out the family resemblance as Dale carefully holds his new sister. She notes that the baby who cries for everyone else is perfectly happy in his arms. And for the first time, Dale feels a genuine, protective love for his new family. His father's voice snaps him out of his daze, asking him how it feels. Dale admits that while she's light as a feather, the responsibility feels incredibly heavy. The Duke smiles, understanding exactly what his son is trying to say. He explains that this is the true weight of life, a lesson he must never forget. But the touching family moment is cut short as his mother reminds him of his lessons. Out in the snowy field, Sophia announces that today's lesson is real combat. Dale hesitates, but she encourages him to attack with his full, unrestrained strength. Dale accepts his master's challenge, a complex magic circle glowing before him. Sophia smiles, eager to see just how much her prodigy has grown. He unleashes a barrage of massive ice lances, a clear display of his power. But Sophia effortlessly catches his first strike, calling it far too slow. She shatters the projectile with a single hand, completely unimpressed. She then scolds him for daring to go easy on his own master. Dale is caught off guard, realizing he's been completely read. Sophia tells him to brace himself, preparing a counterattack of her own. He scrambles to form a defensive barrier, the strain already showing on his face. But her attack shatters his defense, sending him crashing to the ground. Guess the kid gloves are off. He catches his breath, realizing that last attack was no joke. Sophia is impressed by his quick thinking, forming an ice armor at the last second. But Dale isn't just defending, he's ready for another round. She challenges him to try again, and Dale has a new strategy in mind. He slams his hands to the ground, summoning a massive wall of solid ice. Even Sophia is taken aback by the sheer scale of his defensive spell. She's stunned he could cast such a complex spell in the heat of battle. She analyzes the wall, realizing he's reinforced it to be incredibly dense. But she questions his strategy, wondering why he'd switched to defense. She assumes he's just buying time, but the ice is already creeping up on her. Sophia's confusion turns to alarm as she realizes what he's planning. He's not defending. He's created a massive fragmentation bomb out of ice. With a single word, Dale gives the command to detonate his creation. The entire wall erupts in a blinding flash of magical energy. Sophia realizes he's turned the reinforced ice into a massive grenade. The explosion rips through the snowy field, sending shards everywhere. Dale stands confidently, knowing his complex spell was a success. He didn't just make a wall, he compressed it into a volatile weapon. He calls out, certain that even his master couldn't have dodged that blast. But as the smoke clears, his confidence vanishes as he finds she's gone. He calls out for his master, but she appears behind him as a ghostly illusion. She casually asks if he was looking for her, completely unfazed by the blast. Dale realizes with a start that the figure caught in the explosion was just a decoy. She praises his impressive technique, a small wisp of magic still on her finger. But she's shocked that a first circle mage managed to land a hit on an elder. Dale immediately apologizes, insisting he never intended to actually harm her. But Sophia tells him she's actually grateful for the wound he gave her. She explains it proves he trusted her enough to finally go all out, and as his master, that trust makes her prouder than words can say. She asks how he even came up with such a spell, and he credits her teachings. Sophia smiles, genuinely proud of the prodigy she's helped to shape. But later, she's called to the Duke's study, her expression now grim. The Duke questions the cut on her cheek, which she credits to Dale's sharp spell. He thanks her for her dedication, feeling he owes her a great debt. But Sophia insists it's a pleasure, before the Duke makes another request. She happily agrees, completely unaware of what he's about to propose. He explains a small band of orcs has crossed into their lands, and he wants to send Dale to deal with them. You know, as a fun field trip. Sophia is horrified, insisting that the young master isn't ready for a real battle, but the Duke assures her that Dale won't be fighting on the front lines. He argues that defending their territory is the sacred duty of House Saxon, and as the heir, Dale must learn to bear that responsibility, no exceptions. Sophia reluctantly asks what the Duke expects her to do in this situation. The Duke reveals his plan. He's entrusting Dale with one of his personal artifacts. He asks Sophia to guide his son on this dangerous new path. Her job is to help Dale learn to control its immense power. An artifact, the narration explains, is an object imbued with a powerful will, and they run on a simple payment plan, your mana or your life. No refunds. The stronger the item, the more likely it is to turn its wielder into a magical stain. But the Duke is confident, leading them to the family vault to pick out a new toy. The Duke informs Dale that as the heir, he too must prepare for the upcoming battle. While his inner soldier is shocked, Dale plays the part of an eager child, thrilled by the news. He's told he'll be joining the subjugation force to exterminate an orc horde. But before he can march off to war, his father has one more lesson in mind. He must first learn to control the true power of darkness their family commands. Dale is left speechless by the sight of the family's private armory. These are no mere trinkets, but artifacts recovered from the Demon King's domain. He can feel the intense, overwhelming mana radiating from every single item. His father warns him that these relics are extremely dangerous and not to be touched. A warning that our boy, of course, immediately proceeds to ignore. The Duke turns his back for a second, only to find his son has vanished. Dale wanders through the vault, searching for the perfect tool for his revenge. A voice calls out, sensing the deep-seated hatred burning within the boy's heart. Soon, every artifact in the room is whispering promises of power and vengeance. He realizes their dark energy is resonating with the resentment from his past life. But these trinkets aren't enough. He needs something far more powerful for his plans. His attention is then drawn to a mysterious cloak that seems to have appeared out of nowhere. He recognizes it instantly. A legendary shadow cloak, an artifact of immense power. He remembers it from his past life, wielded by one of the Demon King's most powerful dukes. Without a second thought, he eagerly tries on his powerful new find. For science. His father's frantic shout confirms Dale has once again ignored the do not touch signs. But it's too late. The cloak's dark energy lashes out, eager to claim its new host. He's pulled into a mental void, where the artifact's consciousness whispers its insatiable hunger. This is no mere enchanted item, it's a living shadow, and the trial to tame it has begun. Its previous master could command storms of darkness, a power Dale now seeks to control. But to wield such power, the host must first dominate the creature within and force its submission. The shadow, however, has no intention of yielding to an 8-year-old boy. But Dale's will, forged in a lifetime of war, is not so easily broken. Back in the real world, his father and teacher can only watch as he's consumed by the artifact's power. The Duke fears the worst, knowing that if Dale fails, his mind will be devoured by the shadow. The Duke realizes they have no choice but to pull Dale out by force. But a powerful wave of dark energy erupts, pushing them both back. The shadows suddenly dissipate, revealing Dale standing completely unharmed. He turns with a cheerful smile, answering his father as if nothing happened. Sophia rushes to his side, but Dale calmly reassures her that he's perfectly fine. He even jokes that the soul-crushing trial only stung a little, leaving them stunned. His father wonders how a mere child could endure such a powerful artifact's trial. Dale then gets his father's attention, a curious question on his mind. He asks with a bright smile if he can try on all the other cursed relics too. The Duke and Sophia can only stare back, their minds completely short-circuiting. The Duke reluctantly agrees, and Dale spends the next day and night playing dress-up with cursed relics. A few days later, Helmut is stunned to see Dale wearing the legendary shadow cloak. Dale cheerfully confirms the knight's suspicions, completely unfazed by his new accessory. Helmut warns him of the artifact's danger, but Dale says it just feels a little tingly. The knight finds this fascinating, wondering if the powerful artifact was just lonely. Dale jokes that the living shadow just wanted a friend, and it's been following him ever since. Helmut finds the boy's kind-hearted assessment of a soul-eating relic absolutely hilarious. Dale thanks him for the compliment, the tamed shadow now trailing him like a loyal pet. With his new gear equipped, Dale has a special request for the Swordmaster. He asks for a real sparring match to prepare for the upcoming battle. Helmut laughs, accepting the challenge with a promise not to disappoint. But Dale realizes he might have bitten off more than he can chew against a Swordmaster. Helmut offers to fight with only basic swordsmanship without using his powerful aura. Dale takes this as a slight, realizing the knight plans to go easy on him. But he has no intention of holding back, a knight's creed demanding a sincere fight. He reveals his true goal. This isn't a duel, but a test for his new shadow cloak. He needs to see what kind of weapons he can forge from its dark power. He unleashes his first attack, a furious storm of shadow blades. Helmut raises his sword, ready to meet the dark assault head-on. With a single powerful swing, he effortlessly shatters Dale's attack. Well, that was anticlimactic. Dale is stunned, realizing the knight shattered his magic with pure strength alone. But Helmut is absolutely thrilled, praising his nephew's excellent attack. With a grin, he announces the warm-up is over and charges in for real. Dale watches with grim focus as the blur of the Swordmaster's blade closes in. As Helmut leaps into the air, Dale counters by summoning a field of deadly shadow spikes. The knight, however, lands gracefully between them, completely unfazed by the trap. He's even a little impressed by the boy's attempt at a surprise attack. But Dale isn't finished, gathering his dark power for another assault. Helmut brings his sword down with crushing force, met by a shield of pure shadow. Dale grits his teeth, struggling to block the overwhelming power of a true swordmaster. The ground cracks under the sheer force of Helmut's strike. The swordmaster is stunned, realizing his attack should have shattered any normal weapon. Dale, meanwhile, is just as surprised by the power of his new artifact. Thrilled by the challenge, Helmut demands they go for 10 more rounds. The other knights can only watch in awe, knowing none of them could last this long. They realize the young master is already in a league of his own. A few days later, on the eve of the battle, his mother makes one last plea. She insists she can't let him go to such a dangerous place, but Dale reassures her. Still, she worries about what might happen if he gets hurt on the battlefield. But Dale explains he must grow stronger to one day carry the weight of the dukedom. He explains he needs this experience to protect her, his father, and his new sister. He looks up at his mother, pleading for her to let him go so he can become strong. His heartfelt words finally convince her, and she agrees with a gentle smile. With her blessing, she sends her son off to his first real battle. He promises a swift return, now ready to ride off to war. At dawn, the Black Cavalry stands ready, awaiting the Duke's command. But the Duke turns to Dale, telling him to give the order to march in his stead. The Duke's expression is stern. Guess "take your kid to work day" is a bit intense for nobles. He explains that these knights will one day be Dale's to command. Dale realizes this is his first battle as a true leader, a chance to do things right. He looks down upon the Black Cavalry, the time for his first command finally at hand. With a voice far beyond his years, he gives the order for the proud swords of Saxon to march. The knights roar in approval, raising their weapons in salute to their young master. The operation begins with 250 cavalrymen riding out into the frozen wilderness. They're joined by the elite winter wardens, rangers stationed in the White Mountains. Their target is a horde of roughly 1,000 orcs, a daunting force for any army. The plan is to ambush the monsters as they travel downstream to escape the cold. But first, they face a tactical problem, getting 250 men across a deep, raging river. Sophia steps forward, announcing she will form a bridge of solid ice for them to cross. Dale looks back with a proud smile, thrilled to see his master take center stage. With a surge of power, Sophia freezes the entire river in a single massive spell. She gestures to the solid path, calmly announcing that the way is now clear. The Duke leads his forces across the newly formed bridge, offering his thanks. Dale gives his master a cheerful farewell before riding off to his first battle. Sophia watches him go, a mix of pride and worry on her face. She can't help but smile, amused by the strange bond she's formed with the boy. Dale looks back one last time, unaware his master is already stressed out like a new parent. Moments later, the subjugation force arrives at the temporary orc encampment. From the cliffs above, the elite winter wardens begin their fiery ambush. A volley of flaming arrows rains down, turning the peaceful camp into a blazing inferno. The orc camp is engulfed in flames as the first volley rains down from above. Caught completely by surprise, the monsters can only roar in pain and fury. With the enemy in disarray, Helmet gives the signal for the main assault. The Black Cavalry thunders forward in a perfect wedge formation, ready to charge. Watching from the cliffs, Helmet asks the young master for his thoughts on the strategy. But Dale is already analyzing the battle with a commander's cold precision. He calculates the force of the aura-enhanced lances, a truly unstoppable weapon. He concludes it's a one-sided slaughter, a fact his father seems very proud of. But Helmet tells him not to get comfortable just yet, because this was just the opening act and the orcs are preparing to fight back. The Black Cavalry crashes into the orc lines, their lances tearing through flesh and shield. The Duke assesses the situation, ordering a tactical retreat to prepare for the next phase. A signal flare lights up the sky and the order to fall back echoes across the battlefield. The chaos of the battle rages on, with fire and steel consuming the valley. As the knights pull back, the orcs are left confused by the sudden change in tactics. But their confusion quickly turns to rage as they prepare to give chase. The monsters retaliate, unleashing a volley of spears at the retreating cavalry. Their aim is true, and another one of Saxon's soldiers is struck down. From the cliffs above, Dale watches as the first casualty of the battle falls. His only reaction is a cold, detached observation of the unfortunate loss. His father and uncle simply write the man off as a necessary loss. The fallen knight is left completely exposed to the charging orc. But Dale is furious, questioning why they're just letting their soldier die. The grim expressions on their faces confirm the cold calculus of war. They know that by the time they could reach him, it would be too late. So Dale decides to take matters into his own hands, preparing a long-range spell. He modifies his ice bolt, adding a high-precision formula for sniping. He even incorporates ballistic trajectory equations for maximum stability. With his target locked, the former commander prepares to take the shot. He's literally turning his magic into a high-caliber sniper round. Kids these days. With a complex magic circle glowing before him, Dale unleashes the spell. Down below, the orc raises its club for the final brutal blow. A bolt of pure magic energy rips across the battlefield in an instant. Even his father is stunned by the shot's incredible range and pinpoint accuracy. But Dale isn't done. He spurs his horse, charging down towards the battle. The Duke stops Helmet from intervening, telling him to let the boy go. He's impressed that his son has already created his own lethal magic formula. He realizes Dale's magical foundation is already nearing completion. Guess the kid's a fast learner. Dale's eyes are fixed on the battlefield, a commander returning to his element. But the orcs are already regrouping, led by a far more menacing warrior. But as he arrives, Dale identifies two immediate problems on the battlefield. First, the knight he just saved is completely frozen in a state of shock. And second, his own complex spell formula is far too slow for active combat. He needs a new name, a new formula, something quick and lethal. He considers a few options before deciding that simple is always better. With a confident grin, he settles on a new name for his signature spell, Ice Bullet. Down below, the knight can only scream as another orc charges in for the kill. But Dale's new spell rips through the air, striking the monster down in an instant. The knight stares in disbelief, wondering why the young master would risk his life for him. Dale lands gracefully, his first official steps onto the battlefield now taken. Dale calmly tells the stunned knight not to worry. He declares that House Saxon never abandons its loyal soldiers. The knight can only stare in awe as more orcs charge forward. The monsters roar, eager to crush the small boy in their path. But Dale is already preparing his next move, channeling his dark artifact. He unleashes a storm of shadow blades to protect the fallen knight. The dark tendrils effortlessly slice through the charging monsters. With a chilling smile, he gives his living cloak a simple command: consume them. The orc's eyes glow as the shadow magic takes hold from within. Dark energy erupts, completely devouring the monster in an instant. Guess that's one way to clean up the battlefield. The shadow tendrils lash out, slicing through another orc with brutal efficiency. But a much larger, more powerful monster steps forward to challenge him. Dale looks down, unimpressed, as his magic strips another victim to the bone. He even has the audacity to taunt the monster for still standing in his way. His smile fades as he unleashes another precision ice bullet to end the fight. With the threat neutralized, he tells the stunned knight that the coast is clear. The knight admits he's too frozen to move, and Dale's smile becomes a little strained. So Dale just picks him up, because of course an 8-year-old can carry a grown man in full armor. He delivers the knight to Helmet, reporting that his part of the mission is done. With the soldiers safe, Helmet gives the order for the Black Cavalry to finally charge. Inspired by their young master's bravery, the knights charge with renewed vigor. Soon after, back at the base camp, the Duke confirms the battle was a success. But this isn't a celebration, it's an interrogation. He demands to know why his son would do something so incredibly reckless. Dale is genuinely confused. He saved a man's life. Why is he getting scolded? His father presses the issue, and Dale prepares to defend his actions. He reminds his father that these are the men he is destined to lead one day, and as their future leader, he was simply fulfilling his duty to protect them. The Duke, however, is completely unimpressed, calling his reasoning weak. So Dale flips the script, asking why his father was willing to sacrifice his own men. The Duke explains that in their territory, knights fight knowing they won't be saved. But Dale argues that he still hoped his father would try to save a loyal man. The Duke counters, saying Dale's actions have given his men a false hope. He argues that this hope will only make them weaker on the battlefield. He asks how many soldiers can survive when they're waiting for a rescue. His duty, he explains, is to intervene only when his men have reached their absolute limit. And Dale realizes his father is right, a truth he knew but had somehow forgotten. The cold logic of a commander finally cuts through his youthful idealism. But the Duke praises his son's will, telling him never to lose that spirit. With a small salute, Dale accepts the harsh but necessary lesson. With the lesson learned, the Duke tells his son it's time to return to the castle. And just like that, the tale of the boy who saved a single knight becomes the Empire's favorite gossip. The story spreads like wildfire, quickly morphing into a legend of him slaying 1,000 orcs. Dale, however, is mortified by his newfound and highly exaggerated fame. A few days later, the effects of his actions are already being felt back at the training grounds. He arrives to find the knights greeting him with a level of devotion he was not prepared for. He tries to brush off their formality, but his words fall on deaf ears. The knight he saved urges him to stand proud, seeing him as a true leader. He then rallies the troops, declaring they must all become stronger for their young master's sake. The knights roar in approval, their loyalty to Dale now absolute. Dale watches the knight's newfound passion with a satisfied, if slightly overwhelmed, smile. His thoughts are interrupted as a maid announces the arrival of guests from House Orheart. The leader of the group thanks the maid, before turning his attention to Dale. Dale realizes he's about to meet someone very important. We're then introduced to the fallen House Orheart and its patriarch, Bardell. Yes, that Bardell, the very knight Han Sung was forced to kill in his past life. His house fell along with the Teutonia kingdom during the Empire's brutal war. The name clearly affects Helmut, who seems to be remembering his former mentor. Dale senses the tension, realizing this meeting is about to get very awkward. They enter the throne room, where his parents are already waiting for their guests. Dale instructs Helmut to treat their guests with the utmost respect. A woman and a young girl arrive, and Dale notes they came without an entourage. The woman introduces herself as Vanessa Orheart, formally greeting the Duke. But the young girl at her side seems far less impressed by the formal greeting. Vanessa introduces her daughter Charlotte, whose defiant glare speaks volumes. Dale is immediately confused, trying to understand the girl's sudden outburst. Charlotte demands to know why her mother would bow to the people of House Saxon, but the Duke calmly interrupts, acknowledging the long and difficult journey they've had. He then asks Dale to escort the young lady, giving the adults some time to talk. Standard procedure for diffusing a child's political tantrum. Dale plays the part of the perfect host, offering his hand to the fiery young guest. But his polite gesture is met with a sharp refusal from the young girl. She slaps his hand away, shouting for him not to touch her. Dale can only watch, a little confused by this less than warm welcome. His parents are equally stunned by the sudden and hostile outburst. Charlotte glares back, calling them all shameless imperial nobles. Her mother is mortified, demanding her daughter apologize at once, but Charlotte ignores her, turning her back on the entire ducal family. Without another word, she flees the throne room, leaving them all in stunned silence. Vanessa can only apologize, explaining her daughter's recent emotional turmoil. Elena's expression softens with concern, asking what could have happened. Vanessa explains a new overseer was assigned to their land, Count Brandenburg. He's known as the Empire's Holy Knight, but also carries the title Pig King. His goal is to produce a talented heir by preying on any skilled swordswoman, and he set his sights on her young daughter Charlotte once she comes of age. The girl barely escaped his grasp, but the traumatic memory still haunts her. Vanessa pleads with the Duke and Duchess, desperate to protect her child. As a fallen noble, she has no power, so she begs them to take Charlotte in as a maid. This would place her under House Saxon's protection, safe from Brandenburg's reach. Later, Dale finds the young girl storming through the training grounds. He asks if she even knows where she's going, but she just glares back defiantly. Dale asks if her hand is all right, brushing off the slap with a polite smile. He notices she's been crying, a reminder that she's just a kid lashing out in pain. But her response is to draw her sword, challenging him to a duel on the spot. With a fierce glare, she demands that Dale of House Saxon draw his weapon. Dale is completely caught off guard, stunned by her sudden aggressive demand. She repeats her challenge in the training yard, her blade pointed right at him. He asks for a reason, but she says she's already heard plenty of rumors about him. Rumors that have painted him as a one-man army who slaughters thousands. Dale can only sweat drop, realizing his reputation has gotten a little out of hand. She declares she'll defeat the Empire's so-called hero to prove she is the strongest. She declares this is to prove she can protect her house from that man. And that man is none other than Count Brandenburg, the Holy Swordsman. The name sends a jolt through Dale. It's the man who stabbed him in the back. He realizes they share a target, but first, she needs a serious reality check. He turns his back on her, walking towards a rack of training swords. With a smirk, he tells her she's just a child who knows nothing of the world. He then invites her to come at him with everything she's got. Her eyes flare with rage, promising to do just that as her blade glows with power. She unleashes a furious flurry of aura-infused strikes aiming to overwhelm him. But Dale meets her attack head-on, effortlessly blocking the powerful blow. The sheer force of the impact sends Charlotte flying backwards through the air, but her fury only intensifies, her eyes glowing as she presses the attack. Dale, however, seems almost bored, parrying her strikes with casual ease. He notes her technique is impressive, using aura to wield a blade too heavy for her, while a mage generates mana from their heart circle to cast spells. A knight accumulates aura to push their body beyond its physical limits. But even with her power, Dale's defense easily breaks her guard. Still, he can't deny her spirit. She is a true knight to the very core. She comes at him again, refusing to back down no matter the odds. Their blades meet once more in a powerful clash of steel and will. With a manic grin, she believes her aura-infused blade gives her the upper hand. She recalls her mother's stories of the father she never knew. Tales of a legendary hero, the divine sword, filled her childhood nights, and she was taught it was her duty to protect their house in his stead. She reaches for that legacy, trying to channel her father's strength. With a defiant roar, she declares herself the daughter of the divine sword. But her pride isn't enough, and she falls defeated, asking why she lost. Dale gives her a harsh dose of reality. She's not her legendary father. He clarifies that her pride isn't wrong, but it's not the same as true power. And as she is now, she stands no chance against the man she wants to defeat. Defeated, Charlotte asks what she's supposed to do now. She recalls her endless training, a sword that never stopped even when her world fell apart. But her frustration boils over, questioning why it was all for nothing. She can't understand how all her power is so easily blocked by this one boy. She realizes with a jolt that his skill is on a completely different level. Their blades continue to clash in the cold training yard. But every powerful strike she makes is met with an unbreakable defense. Dale remains completely unfazed, his movements precise and effortless. With her spirit broken, she asks again what she must do, and Dale finally answers. He swears on his family's name to become the protector of House Orheart. Well, that's one way to make a friend.
Charlotte is left speechless, her tears the only answer she can give.
He vows that he and House Saxon will be her shield until that day comes. She can only ask why, and Dale's answer is simple. Her sword is worth it. In return, all he asks is for her to swear her blade to him and House Saxon. Her tears finally dry as she accepts the offer she could never refuse. And so, Charlotte Orheart kneels, pledging her honor as a knight to him. It may have looked like a simple promise between two children, but the resolve behind it was as strong and binding as a sacred vow. Later, in his father's study, we learn Charlotte accepted her new role as a maid. The Duke is stunned by her compliance, demanding to know what his son did. Dale explains to his father that he simply made a vow to protect House Orheart. The Duke's eyes narrow, questioning if his son invoked their family name out of pity. But Dale stands firm, denying any such weakness in his decision. He reveals his true goal, to obtain the exceptional talent of the divine sword's only heir. He explains that he and Charlotte have sworn a new oath together. His ambition is to forge a new divine sword that will fight for the glory of their duchy. The Duke's stern expression finally breaks into a proud, satisfied smile. With one move, Dale has secured a powerful ally and dealt a blow to his future enemy, Brandenburg. Meanwhile, in the old capital of Teutonia, someone is not taking the news well at all. A shattered wine glass is a clear sign of the fury brewing within the castle walls. Count Brandenburg is furious, demanding to know why Duke Saxon dared to move first. He berates his men for their complete failure to capture Charlotte Orheart. His subordinate explains their assassins were killed, likely by Charlotte herself. The news only deepens his frustration with the entire situation. He dismisses his men as useless, his attention drawn to a legendary blade. He places a hand on the scabbard, lost in a memory of a past victory. A flashback reveals his brutal past, standing over a defeated foe. He lifts the holy sword Durandal, a trophy from his conquest of Teutonia. He creepily calls Charlotte his fiancée because every good villain needs a forced marriage plot. He then orders his men to infiltrate the Duke's territory, escalating the conflict. He orders his men to bring him Charlotte no matter the cost. A week later, Charlotte is adjusting to her new life of intense maid training. A life that apparently includes daily sparring sessions with Dale, refereed by Helmut. Dale accepts the challenge with a confident, almost playful smile. While Charlotte stands ready, her expression one of fierce determination. With a grin, Helmut gives the two young prodigies the signal to start. Their blades meet in a flash of steel, the duel beginning in an instant. Dale moves with the fluid grace of a seasoned warrior, not an 8-year-old boy. But Charlotte meets his skill with a furious assault of her own. Still, Dale's speed is on another level, a blur of precise, untouchable movements. Her eyes burn with focus as she puts every ounce of her will into her blade. The two young prodigies are locked in a fierce duel under Helmut's watchful gaze. The swordmaster can't help but wonder if he's watching children or seasoned killers. He notes that while they lack a knight's polish, their speed and intent are terrifying. Dale, however, remains completely focused, his movements sharp and precise. He suddenly closes the distance, his speed catching Charlotte completely off guard. She can only watch in shock, realizing she's been completely outmaneuvered. But Helmut intervenes, stopping Dale's final blow and declaring the match over. Frustrated, Charlotte dismisses his praise, demanding to know what she's lacking. Helmut begins his lesson, asking if she truly understands the essence of her own weapon. Helmut explains the true essence of her weapon lies not in her arm, but in her footwork. He points out that while Dale evaded her attack, he simultaneously closed the distance. The knight explains that overextending her arm only makes her blade shake and lose precision. His final verdict is harsh. She needs to rebuild her fundamentals from the ground up. He's noticed her unrefined posture, and she admits she's never had a proper teacher. Helmut laughs, declaring he'll fix her bizarre thrusting stance, much to her fury. As Helmut teases her, Dale realizes he'll need to work even harder to stay ahead of her. We're reminded that forming a mana circle is a delicate process that can take decades. So of course, Dale casually informs Sophia that he's already completed his second one. A mage's power is measured in RPMs, with the first circle mage averaging around 300. Dale's first circle is already at 2000 RPM, far beyond the norm for his level. With his second circle now active, he decides it's time for a little experiment. He plans to upgrade his ice bullet, reinforcing it on a molecular level. He even adds a magical barrel to increase the spell's velocity and rotation. With his target locked, he prepares to unleash his new armor-piercing variant. He fires the spell, a concentrated beam of pure destructive ice energy. The resulting blast doesn't just hit the tree, it completely obliterates it. Sophia can only stare through the new hole, wondering how he made it look so easy. She praises him for his rapid learning, a statement she's had to make a lot lately. Dale humbly thanks his master, who smiles, clearly proud of her prodigy. Sophia reflects on his actions, realizing he always uses his strength for the right reasons. She admits that while his immense power can be frightening, it inspires an even greater trust, and she embraces her proud student. Dale, however, is completely flustered by the sudden display of affection. The hardened soldier's mind short-circuits, clearly not programmed for hugs. Later that morning, he's still trying to process the unexpected moment. He wonders if she only sees him as a child, but quickly shakes off the thought. With his focus regained, he turns his attention back to his training. With a single command, he summons a massive, jagged wall of solid ice. But he's not just building a wall, he's infusing it with even more power. He's now upgrading his ice bullet into a magical 12-gauge buckshot. He embeds smaller, perfectly formed projectiles within the larger structure. The entire wall then shatters, becoming a volley of deadly ice shards. With a single gesture, he unleashes his new wide-area attack. He's already planning his next upgrade, a high-impact slug round. This kid's a one-man armory. But his weapons development is interrupted as a voice calls his name. He turns to find Charlotte, who's apparently found his secret training spot. She explains she's been practicing the footwork Sir Helmut taught her. Dale notes her passion for swordsmanship, catching her a little off guard. But his expression turns serious, ready to talk about what happened before. Charlotte finally offers a flustered apology for her rude behavior. Dale bluntly agrees that she was in fact very rude, leaving her speechless. But he quickly follows up with a bright smile, offering his forgiveness. He tells her to drop the formalities, an offer she eagerly accepts. As they walk through the snowy woods, Charlotte admits she likes the weather here. She explains the cold air is perfect for cooling down after a long night of training. She smiles, happy to find someone who seems to understand her passion. The two share a quiet moment, a silent understanding passing between them. She reflects on how quickly time seems to be passing for them both. Meanwhile, his parents watch from afar, already planning their son's future wedding. The Duke agrees they'll have to keep a close eye on the two young prodigies. His mother, however, sees this as her duty to guide her son's heart. You know, standard noble matchmaking. Not long after, Dale joins his mother as she provides aid on the outskirts of the dukedom. Every week, she visits the slums to distribute food and help the less fortunate find work. Dale and Charlotte have now joined her cause, but their charity work is suddenly interrupted. A desperate young boy grabs Charlotte's arm, begging for her to help him. He claims his mother is in terrible danger, and Charlotte's expression softens with concern. The boy's tearful plea is more than enough to convince the kind-hearted knight, but as they follow him down a narrow alley, Dale's instincts scream that this is a trap. They've been separated from their guards, and he knows this was a carefully planned ambush. Dale's eyes dart to the rooftops, spotting a figure watching them from above. He recognizes the man as a guild assassin, sent by the Holy Swordsman himself. The young boy tells them to wait, but his part in this little play is already over. Before they can react, the alley is suddenly blocked by a new arrival. A group of armed thugs emerges from the shadows, their intentions perfectly clear. Their leader tells Dale to leave, claiming their only target is Charlotte. He flashes a dagger with a smug grin, a clear threat to the young master. But Dale just smiles, repeating the vow he made to Charlotte not long ago. He swears to protect her from these thugs, standing his ground without fear. The leader finds his noble chivalry amusing, clearly underestimating the boy. The thug leader scoffs, telling Dale he should have picked a better time to play hero. He promises to teach the boy a harsh lesson about the real world. Charlotte panics, realizing she's unarmed, but Dale calmly tells her not to worry. The assassins leap from the rooftops, seeing this as the perfect chance to strike. They close in from all sides, completely surrounding the two children. But Dale just smirks as his shadow cloak unleashes a storm of dark tendrils. From the rooftops, the lead assassin screams for his men to dodge. Dale is a little impressed the guy caught on so quickly. High-rank thief indeed. The shadows lash out, effortlessly deflecting the thug's desperate attacks. But it's far too late, and the men can only scream as the darkness consumes them. Dale reveals a new trick, implanting parasitic shadows to create instant undead. The lead assassin can only stare, completely baffled by this dark turn of events. His men wonder what's happening as the shadows converge on their fallen comrade. The result is a monstrous puppet, a new undead soldier born from the alley fight. The new creature roars its hunger as the assassins finally recognize the forbidden art. The leader screams at his men to kill the monster, their confidence now shattered. But he still believes a simple blade is enough to end the life of a noble's son. Just then, a new figure makes a quiet entrance, because this alley wasn't crowded enough. In an instant, the assassins are down, and a woman in a purple coat now stands guard. The lead assassin unleashes his ultimate technique, a flurry of aura-infused daggers. The assassin can only curse as the shadows effortlessly deflect his attack. He leaps down from the rooftops, determined to end this himself. But Dale is already preparing a counterattack of his own. He unleashes his new double-barrel buckshot, riddling the assassin with ice. And the mysterious woman follows up with a massive ice blade, sending him flying. From the sidelines, Charlotte can only watch in worried silence. With the alley now a war zone, Dale stands as the calm eye of the storm. The assassin staggers to his feet, admitting aura wielders are tough to kill. But he's far from finished, his eyes burning with a killer's resolve. He charges with a final desperate roar, met by a storm of endless shadow. Dale's shadow monster makes short work of the remaining thugs, a whirlwind of dark destruction. The creature roars its insatiable hunger as it tears through its helpless victim. With the fight all but over, Dale turns his attention back to his protected charge. He asks if Charlotte is okay, and she gives a shaken but affirmative reply. He helps her to her feet, the alley now littered with the consequences of their ambush. The lead assassin tries to make a run for it, but an ice bullet freezes his escape plan solid. As the shadow monster closes in, the man begs for his life, but Dale simply recalls his puppet. The assassin desperately offers to spill everything he knows to save his own skin. He promises to tell Dale everything, clearly thinking he's found a way out of this. But Dale isn't interested in a debrief, ending the conversation with a single brutal spell. Dale coldly informs the assassin that his intel is of no interest to him. He turns his back on the carnage, leaving Charlotte to follow in his wake. She can only stare at the aftermath, trying to process what she just witnessed. Dale explains this is the feared power of House Saxon, and it will now be her shield. He asks if she's afraid, and she admits that she is, just a little. But her fear is overshadowed by gratitude, knowing he did it all to protect her. She recalls the day she pledged her loyalty, a vow she now fully understands. Charlotte declares that if he is her shield, she will become the sword that fights for him. With renewed purpose, she thanks him and swears to become even stronger. Dale is taken aback, surprised by the fierce determination in her eyes. Dale's eyes are filled with a resolve that goes far beyond his years. We learn that part of his reason for protecting Charlotte stems from the guilt he still carries for killing her father in his past life. He offers his hand, a chance to atone for a sin she'll never know. And so Charlotte's decision to become his sword is accepted with a smile that hides a lifetime of regret. This vow holds a weight that even Dale doesn't fully comprehend yet. Meanwhile, back at his estate, Count Brandenburg is not having a good day. He seethes with rage, his plans completely derailed by a child. And to add insult to injury, he's just received a formal invitation to the Saxon duchy. The invitation is less of a request and more of a demand for accountability. And not even the great holy swordsman Count Brandenburg can refuse this summons. A few days later, he arrives at the Saxon estate, walking right into the lion's den. The Count's expression is a mask of barely contained fury. Duke Saxon feigns surprise at his guest's prompt arrival, a smug smile on his face. He offers a mock apology for the humble welcome. Standard political theater. Brandenburg forces a smile, claiming he would never ignore the Duke's call. But his inner thoughts reveal his true contempt for the slippery little brats. He gets straight to the point, calling Charlotte's protection a kidnapping in broad daylight. With a forced laugh, he claims to know exactly why he's been summoned here. The Duke feigns innocence, asking how a loyal servant could be involved in such a mess. But his words are punctuated by an eruption of overwhelming dark magic. Brandenburg's knights are caught in the blast, wondering what just hit them. Their bodies begin to disintegrate, consumed by the Duke's forbidden power. Brandenburg can only watch as his elite guard is crushed without a fight. He recognizes the magic, stunned by the sheer force being unleashed. This is the Tempest of Nihil, one of the Duke's most powerful spells. The holy swordsman is forced to his knees, a position he is definitely not used to. He questions the Duke's actions, but is met with a cold, simple command to listen. Because the Duke makes it clear there will not be a second warning. Brandenburg can only curse, realizing he's completely underestimated the Duke's ruthlessness. The Duke claims this meeting is for the sake of peace. The kind of peace that starts with a magical beatdown. But if Brandenburg ever dares to touch the children of House Saxon again, the Duke will personally wipe every last member of his house from existence. He then offers his guest a chance to rest, a chillingly polite end to his threat. Brandenburg grits his teeth, calling the Duke's generosity humbling. He politely declines the offer, claiming he can't stay any longer. With a final smug smile, the Duke wishes him an uneventful journey home. Dale watches him go, having just witnessed a masterclass in political intimidation. His father just put one of the Emperor's most loyal dogs firmly in his place. The narration explains that this small conflict will become the spark that sets the entire empire ablaze. What begins as a single ember will soon grow into an unstoppable fire of rebellion, and it will be their duty to cut down the holy swordsman, Count Brandenburg, once and for all. Back in the present, Sophia is summoned to the Duke's office to discuss the political fallout. The Duke's expression is grim as he prepares to show her something deeply unsettling. He reveals the bodies of the assassins, a grim trophy from Dale's recent encounter. Sophia is horrified to learn that the 8-year-old boy was the one responsible for all this. The corpses are a testament to his ruthless efficiency, torn apart by his dark magic. For the first time, Sophia wonders if she's truly equipped to handle such a dangerous prodigy. But the Duke offers her a new role, asking her to become Dale's chief advisor to guide his path. Sophia is stunned, realizing the true weight of the Duke's offer. He's not just asking her to be a tutor, but to become a permanent part of House Saxon. The Duke admits that even with his power, he can't guide Dale's talent alone. He believes that with her support, they can truly shape the boy's future. After a moment of consideration, Sophia formally accepts her new vital role. She now sees that understanding how Dale sees the world is her most important mission. Time passes and soon the grand celebration for Dale's 10th birthday begins. This year's party is even bigger, with envoys from the Emperor's court in attendance. But among the powerful guests, one figure in particular stands out from the crowd. He's introduced as Marquis Eurus, and his smile is anything but friendly. The Marquis offers a polite greeting, his smile dripping with insincerity. Earlier that evening, the party was in full swing, a lavish display of House Saxon's wealth. The nobles from the capital marveled at the opulence, their fears of the barbaric north put to rest. But Dale sees past the facade, his eyes scanning the crowd with a soldier's focus. He quickly identifies the key players, the central nobles of the Emperor's faction. And he knows they aren't here for the cake. Their presence is a thinly veiled warning. A message from the imperial family, making it clear they won't tolerate any slight against their dog, Brandenburg. And the man chosen to deliver this friendly message is now making his way towards Dale. He approaches the 10-year-old boy, the guest of honor and the center of this political storm. This is Lord Crimson, Marquis Eurus, and he looks absolutely thrilled to finally meet his target. The Marquis is the master of the Red Tower, a man who pursues power through flame and fury. and his mages never hesitate to become the executors of ambition, no matter the cost. Dale knows this all too well, recalling his own past as a subject of their cruel experiments. The Marquis praises the genius prodigy of House Saxon, his words dripping with false admiration. He even brings up the rumor of Dale single-handedly wiping out an Orheart. You know, the one that got a little exaggerated. Dale just offers a polite smile, playing the part of the perfect young noble. He gives a small bow, ending the tense conversation with practiced grace. But once he's alone, the facade drops, exhausted by the endless political theater. He'd much rather be training with Charlotte, who now officially serves as his mother's maid. But he knows sparring with the Divine Sword's daughter could put her in danger, so he heads off to train alone. But his quiet training is shattered by a sudden, desperate scream. He recognizes the voice, realizing one of the maids is in serious trouble. Without a second thought, he races towards the sound of the disturbance. He finds a young maid on the ground, pleading for her life from her attacker. But her assailant, a portly noble, scoffs at her connection to House Saxon. He pulls a dagger, seeing the birthday party as the perfect cover for his crime. With a blade to her throat, he threatens to end her life if she continues to resist. But as he makes his move, he's completely unaware that he's being watched. Dale's voice cuts through the night, demanding to know what this party crasher is doing. The man's arrogance vanishes, replaced by terror as he faces the young master's cold fury. The noble stammers, shocked to see the young master has found them. But his fear turns to a slimy confidence as he asks the boy a deeply inappropriate question. He mocks Dale's youth, completely underestimating the fury in the boy's eyes. He then offers to teach Dale a lesson, using the terrified maid as a hostage. But Dale's patience has officially run out, his expression turning absolutely murderous. He calmly tells the maid not to worry, as a complex magic circle appears at his fingertips. With a cold focus, he promises to end this little disturbance quickly. The noble can't believe it, certain a child wouldn't dare attack a fellow noble. Guess he's about to learn a new rule. Dale unleashes a massive shard of ice, a clear and brutal answer to the man's arrogance. The noble is sent crashing to the ground, his lesson in etiquette delivered with extreme prejudice. Dale stands his ground, making it clear he has no intention of backing down. The noble clutches his bleeding cheek, realizing that attacking one of the Emperor's men was a very bad idea. He tries to pull rank, but Dale cuts him off with a simple, chilling command, "Kneel." When the man hesitates, Dale's voice sharpens with a fury far beyond his years. He demands the noble get on his knees and apologize to the maid he just assaulted. But the noble scoffs, seeing Dale as nothing more than an arrogant brat from the north. He tries to twist the situation, claiming he's a representative of the Emperor himself. Because the Emperor definitely endorses this kind of behavior. Dale fires back a question so sharp it leaves the man completely speechless. As the noble sputters in outrage, he fails to notice the other guests have arrived. With the Marquis and his entourage now watching, Dale gives the man one final warning. But the Marquis just smiles, repeating Dale's command with a chilling amusement. He finds this little power play to be a very interesting turn of events. Just then, Dale's father arrives and Dale calmly explains the man's crime. The Duke asks if this is why Dale attacked Lord Petro, who can only stammer about the boy's recklessness. But Dale cuts him off, demanding to know who gave the man permission to even stand. He then addresses the entire imperial delegation, reminding them of their duty to the Emperor. He accuses Petro of defiling a maid, an act that tarnishes the very name of the man he claims to serve. The Marquis's smile widens, clearly impressed by the boy's sharp political maneuvering. He turns to the crowd, laughing at how cleverly Dale has cornered his opponent. With a knowing look, he admits that the young master of House Saxon speaks the absolute truth. The Marquis agrees, shaming the noble for stooping so low while representing the Emperor. With a single word and a flicker of flame, Eurus decides to take out the trash himself. He calls the man a filthy insect, his smile turning absolutely predatory. Lord Petro can only beg for his life, but his fate is already sealed. The Marquis's face disappears into shadow as he unleashes his fiery judgment. A torrent of flames erupts, turning the garden into a makeshift crematorium. The man's screams echo through the night as he's completely consumed by the inferno. Eurus calmly explains that purging those who insult the imperial family is his sacred duty. He then turns to Dale, offering a chilling promise to watch his future with great interest. Dale meets his gaze with a quiet resolve, a silent challenge passing between them. With the party's incident resolved, the Emperor's delegation finally departs. The next morning, a familiar voice calls out to the young master. It's the maid he saved, now tasked with waking him for the day. She seems flustered, still overwhelmed by his act of kindness. Dale notices her hesitation, asking if she has something on her mind. She finally manages a heartfelt thank you, honored to be in his service. Dale reflects on this strange feeling of genuine gratitude from others. He offers a warm smile, thanking the maid Eve in return. He now understands the true weight of his name as the heir to House Saxon. And he'll use that power for one purpose, to bring the entire empire to its knees. Back in the Duke's study, his father praises Dale's cleverness, but his tone is far from celebratory. He notes that his son's behavior has been unusually odd lately. Dale plays the part of the innocent child, asking what his father means. The Duke then poses a chilling hypothetical question about the otherworldly hero. He reveals that if the hero had survived, his next target would have been House Saxon. Dale feigns shock, calling the claim blasphemous. The kid's got a future in acting. But his father presses him, demanding to know how he can be so sure. Dale's mind flashes back to the truth he knows from his past life as that very hero. He remembers the Empire's fear, knowing they planned to discard him once his purpose was served. He quickly covers his tracks, claiming it's just a logical deduction from historical records. He recalls the official story. The hero died honorably in a duel with the divine sword, Bardell. The Duke is taken aback, realizing his son somehow knows the truth that only a select few are privy to. He concludes that if his theory is correct, the Empire is nothing more than a violent oppressor. The Duke can only marvel at the wisdom and insight coming from his 10-year-old son. So his father asks for his counsel, and Dale's answer is simple. House Saxon can never coexist with the Empire. With a chilling confidence, he begins to lay out his entire strategic assessment. He explains that after the Demon King's fall, the Empire never bothered to cleanse the corrupted lands. Instead, they ordered House Saxon to cultivate the territory, a suicide mission from the start. They then claimed the land as their own, demanding endless sacrifices from the Duke's forces. The Duke listens, knowing his son is right. As long as that darkness remains, their people will continue to die. Dale explains that the Empire has already branded them as the Clan of Darkness, and just as they discarded the hero, they'll eventually turn on any other perceived threat. His conclusion is simple and brutal. They must destroy the Empire. The Duke can only stare at his son, the weight of his words hanging in the air. He demands to know if Dale truly understands the gravity of what he's proposing. But Dale clarifies he's not calling for an immediate reckless rebellion. Instead, he gives his father a clear timeline. Their war begins in 10 years. He explains that resistance groups are already rising up across the continent, and other nobles, like his father, live in constant fear of the Empire's wrath. The economy is collapsing, banditry is rampant, and the scars of war have only deepened. By then, he declares, they will have the strength to stand against the entire Empire. He lays out his entire plan, from funding rebellions to preparing for the final war. The two of them talk for hours, their strategy session lasting until the sun finally sets. After hearing it all, the Duke can only sit in stunned, thoughtful silence. But that silence soon breaks into a slow, deeply impressed smile. He bursts into laughter, praising his son's truly boundless talents. He admits that Dale sees a future that even he, the Duke, had completely overlooked. With a proud hand on his shoulder, he declares Dale is no longer just a child in his eyes. From this day forward, he will be treated as the true heir to House Saxon. The Duke promises to respect his counsel, a moment Dale has been waiting for his entire new life. The Duke encourages his son to speak freely, ready to hear his first official counsel. With a confident smile, Dale reminds his father of his promise to treat him as an equal. He then makes his first request, to take the tower trial in the necropolis. The trial is a brutal gauntlet where mages fight guardians to climb the ranks. The strongest earn the title of elder, while the top dog becomes the tower master. Simple corporate ladder stuff. His father is hesitant, questioning if Dale is ready for a trial that could easily kill him. Dale dismisses his concern, certain he'll complete his third circle any day now. But the Duke knows that's a feat most mages don't achieve until their mid-20s. He asks why this is so important, and Dale insists it's for the future of House Saxon. By proving his strength in the trial, he'll gain the power and authority they need. He explains this will solidify his status as heir, building a reputation on power, not gossip. His father confirms his plan, to use the brutal tower trial to prove his worth. The Duke's smile shows he's more than a little impressed by his son's ambition. With a look of complete trust, he agrees to let Dale handle this on his own terms. Dale is ecstatic, promising his father he won't let him down. A few days later, they arrive at the infamous City of Death necropolis. Their carriage pulls up to the massive gates of the Black Magic Tower. As the Duke steps out, it's clear the guest of honor has arrived. The mages of the tower bow in unison, welcoming their powerful leader. But Dale just yawns, completely unfazed by the grand, dramatic entrance. But our boy is already feeling the strain, wondering if he's pushed himself too hard once again. The crowd whispers as they arrive, their eyes fixed on the legendary genius of House Saxon. Some of the mages note his tired appearance, questioning if the rumors are true. But one arrogant young mage scoffs, dismissing the stories as nothing more than a joke. This is Velik, the Academy's top graduate, and he's certain this trial is his to win. Confidence is a hell of a drug. A woman in a pristine white suit steps forward to formally greet the Tower Master and his son. We're introduced to Eris, an elder of the tower who will be overseeing the trial. The Duke explains that she will be Dale's guide, an arrangement our boy happily accepts. With a polite farewell, Dale follows Eris, ready to begin the next phase of his plan. She leads him to a massive door, revealing that 59 other graduates are waiting to compete alongside him. Eris gestures grandly, opening the doors to the trial's first stage. Dale looks out at the massive arena, filled with his fellow competitors. From a balcony above, Eris formally welcomes the gathered mages. She begins to explain the rules for the first trial of the Black Magic Tower. The trial is a battle royale with each mage given a life necklace. A single valid hit will activate the necklace's shield, eliminating the target. The attacker gains a life point, and the first to reach 3 points will advance. And to keep things fair, the use of any artifacts is strictly forbidden. But as Dale scans the competition, his gaze locks onto one particular mage. He's not the only one being sized up. Velik has already branded Dale as a monster to be eliminated. Velik smirks, assuring his ally that in this arena, the Duke's son is fair game. Dale's confident smile tells them he's more than ready for the challenge. As the trial begins, the mages immediately animate the corpses littering the arena floor. One of the mages unleashes a torrent of dark energy, ready to raise his army. The magic seeps into the fallen, pulling them to their feet as mindless puppets. Soon the entire arena is swarming with undead soldiers, all hungry for a fight. A massive undead brute charges Dale, its sword held high for a killing blow. But the blade crashes down on an empty spot. Dale has already moved. The creature's face contorts as a strange blue energy spreads across its body. Dale stands calmly behind the frozen corpse, leaving his rivals completely stunned. He doesn't just raise the dead, he freezes his opponent's puppets solid. The other mages can only stare, recognizing the forbidden water magic. The realization dawns on them. The Duke's son is a rare dual element mage. With a single gesture, Dale shatters the frozen monster into 1,000 pieces. One of the mages is furious, demanding to know why Dale touched his undead. He sends his own monster forward, intending to put the boy in his place. But Dale calmly explains that he's already protected his own undead with ice armor. The attack shatters harmlessly against the frozen shell, a perfect defense. Velik finally steps forward, accusing Dale of breaking the trial's sacred rules. He insists only necromancy is allowed, but Dale's smile suggests he's read the fine print. Dale calmly points out there's no rule against using other magic to buff his undead. And since the trial hasn't been stopped, he smugly concludes he's correct. Furious, Velik orders his allies to ignore the puppets and attack Dale directly. Their plan is simple: overwhelm the 10-year-old with sheer numbers. Dale then recalls another crucial rule. The use of artifacts is also forbidden. With his powerful shadow cloak out of commission, he's left with fewer options. So he decides there's only one way to handle this, up close and personal. He dodges through the undead horde with the skill of a seasoned warrior. He faces off against an undead soldier, ready for a close-quarters fight. The creature swings its bone blade, but Dale easily ducks under the attack. With a confident grin, he catches the blade and prepares a counter of his own. He drives a fist of pure dark energy straight through the monster's chest. Now armed with the creature's own weapon, he prepares for the next assault. With a single fluid motion, he cuts down another undead soldier in his path. Velik can only stare in disbelief, realizing that's no ordinary bone sword. Dale explains he reforged the bones with his magic because of course he did. He then faces off against a much larger undead, completely unfazed. His reinforced blade easily blocks the creature's powerful downward strike. With incredible agility, he uses the monster's head as a springboard and brings his sword down with a furious roar, ready to end the fight. With a flurry of precise strikes, he carves a path through the undead horde. Velik can only watch in horror, his mind unable to process how a mage can fight like this. Dale then turns his blade on the mages themselves, cutting them down with terrifying ease. Soon the arena is littered with fallen competitors, leaving Velik completely defenseless. The arrogant mage begs for his life, but Dale just smiles, reminding him it's only a game. Velik's life necklace activates, a glowing beacon of his utter defeat. With one final decisive swing, Dale brings the match to a close. Velik can only call him a monster as he's officially eliminated from the trial. With the battle over, the final results are announced to the stunned crowd. Dale is declared the sole victor, having defeated all 59 of his rivals without breaking a sweat. With his victory absolute, Dale declares this is just the first step on his path. For the second trial, he must face the tower's guardian, a massive flesh golem. Normally, the surviving mages would team up to take down such a beast. But Dale, ever the overachiever, has already eliminated all of his potential allies. Whoops. The rules have changed. Unlike the first round, all forms of magic are now permitted. The no artifacts rule still applies, but Dale's confident smile says he won't need them. He sees this as the perfect opportunity to test the limits of his new third circle. The golem unleashes its first attack, a ground-shattering punch. The creature's eyes glow with malevolent energy, ready to crush the small boy. It gathers a volatile sphere of dark magic, preparing to end this fight quickly. But Dale simply stands his ground, a calm smile on his face as he prepares his own counter. He unleashes a new spell, a concentrated blast of pure, accelerated decay. From the stands, Eris notes that the young master's magic is unlike anything she's ever seen. Instead of destroying the golem, his spell causes its very flesh to rot and crumble away. Dale recalls his past life, where he used a similar tactic known as biochemical warfare. He's a little grossed out by the smell, proving even prodigies hate the stench of rotting flesh. Eris realizes his genius as the narration confirms he's shattered every record in the tower's history. Meanwhile, the other mages who were eliminated are seen regrouping. They've been granted a rare retrial to recover from their absolute humiliation. That night, Dale stands alone, reflecting on his overwhelming victory. His quiet reflection is interrupted by a familiar voice calling his name. It's Sophia, who congratulates him on his splendid performance in the trial. Dale humbly credits his success to her, making his master beam with pride. But with the trial now behind them, he has a very important question for her. He asks her on a date, a request that leaves the elf completely short-circuited. He excitedly explains there's a festival in the city they should go to together. She reluctantly agrees, much to Dale's absolute delight. Sophia tries to rationalize the situation, admitting he's not technically wrong. She concludes he's just a child who doesn't understand the real meaning of a date. But the narrator knows better, questioning if this is what they call being dark on the inside. The Necropolis City Festival is in full swing, a lively celebration in the City of Death. As they walk under the fireworks, Sophia worries he's tired, but Dale brushes it off. He assures her he has plenty of time to rest before the next trial begins. The two walk through the quiet streets, a master and her prodigy enjoying a rare moment of peace. Dale breaks the silence, commenting on the beauty of the full moon. Sophia agrees, a gentle smile on her face as she looks up at the night sky. But Dale realizes their easy conversation has become a little strained. Still, he finds the silence comfortable, a familiar feeling he's always had with her. He believes it's because she's the one person who has always trusted him without question. And he admits to himself that he wants to close the distance between them. He recalls the day he finally achieved his third mana circle. It was then he understood Sophia's lesson about facing his inner world. The process was brutal, pushing his body to its absolute breaking point. To form the third circle, he had to let his mana overflow past his limits. He had to endure a full-blown mana rampage and somehow survive it. Standard magical puberty. But in that chaos, 3 distinct magic circles finally took form. And in his mind's eye, he suddenly found himself holding a strange black sword. He's never seen this weapon before, yet it feels strangely familiar. But just as quickly, the vision shatters, leaving him in a desolate, snowy wasteland. He looks around, completely lost in this strange, frozen landscape of his own mind. He finally understands what Sophia meant by one's inner world. This desolate, frozen landscape is his world of realization, a world that was once nothing but absolute, hollow emptiness. But in that void, it was his master, Sophia, who reached out her hand. She's the one who brought light into his dark, empty world. And with that realization, he blurts out a heartfelt confession. Sophia is completely stunned while Dale just offers a cheerful smile. He repeats his words, leaving his master utterly speechless. Guess the kid's not subtle, but her shock quickly melts away, replaced by a warm, understanding smile. She pulls him into a hug, accepting the feelings of her earnest student. She returns his feelings, telling him she likes him very much as well. Dale thanks his master, realizing this second chance at life definitely has its upsides. A few days later, the tower trial continues under the bright necropolis sun. But Dale is already distracted, lamenting his lack of romantic progress with Sophia. He figures she just wrote it off as a kid's crush, deciding to focus on the trial for now. The format for the 11th tier is a simple one-on-one magic duel to the finish. His opponent is Albert Rosenheim, a third circle master who seems a little too happy to be here. Albert promises not to go easy on him, but Dale's confident smile says he wouldn't have it any other way. This time, all artifacts are allowed and the life necklaces are off. This is a real fight. With the restrictions lifted, Dale is ready to unleash his full power and end this quickly. But before the official start can even be announced, Albert decides to jump the gun. He unleashes a massive blast of dark magic, telling the boy to stay sharp. With a smug grin, he declares that Dale's winning streak ends right here. He summons a massive volley of dark arrows, filling the entire arena with lethal projectiles. But Dale just pulls his cloak tighter, ready to see what this master can really do. Albert is absolutely certain that this is one fight the young prodigy can't win. The dark energy rains down, but Dale weaves through the chaos with impossible speed. He emerges from the explosive barrage without a single scratch on him. Dale calls him out, noting that attacking before the start is a clear violation of the rules. But he realizes the judges are letting it slide, curious to see how strong he really is. Dale finds this kind of flashy, wide-area magic incredibly annoying. With a smug grin, Albert decides to show the boy what a real necromancer can do. He commands his creations to rise, calling for their eternal obedience. Dale can only cringe, finding the overly dramatic spell chant deeply embarrassing. But even he has to admit, this guy is a cut above the average rookie. He continues to dodge, weaving through the undead's powerful but clumsy strikes. Albert taunts him, frustrated that the boy is only evading his attacks. The undead minions press their assault, swinging their weapons with mindless fury. Their glowing eyes are locked onto their target, driven by their master's will. Soon Dale finds himself completely surrounded by the relentless undead horde. With a bored smirk, Dale asks if his opponent has anything else to show. He then unleashes a spell of his own, a powerful death explosion. The dark energy rips through the arena, engulfing the undead in a violent blast. But Albert is still certain of his victory, declaring himself the winner of the match. His confidence shatters as his eyes widen in sudden dawning horror. He looks around the empty arena, frantically asking where Dale has gone. He even accuses the boy of cheating. Guess someone's a sore loser. As he searches, a dark shadow begins to creep up from the ground before him. Dale appears behind him, calmly noting that his opponent seems a little flustered. He praises the sneak attack before revealing a new power, Wraith Transformation. Albert insists that Dale's power is nowhere near enough to defeat him. But his own magic seems to have a mind of its own, screaming its insatiable hunger. Dale just smiles, completely unfazed by the desperate display. He then unleashes his own hungry pet, telling the living shadow not to overeat. The crowd can only watch in absolute terror as the true battle begins. Albert is instantly overwhelmed as the dark tendrils lash out to consume him. Dale casually notes that his cloak got a little too excited by the prospect of a meal. The arrogant mage can only beg for his life as the darkness closes in. With a single command, Dale calls off his attack, his point more than proven. The match is over, and Dale is declared the winner without breaking a sweat. With a confident smile, Dale asks the remaining mages who's ready for round 2. His opponents can only stare back in terror, their will to fight completely shattered. One of them immediately surrenders, admitting he'd much rather just live. And so, from that point on, most of Dale's matches ended in default victories. He continued to climb the tower, crushing every guardian in his path. But by the time he reached the 20th tier, a worthy opponent finally appeared. He now stands before the legendary Headless Knight, a truly fearsome guardian. The crowd whispers that this creature was made by an elder, an opponent unlike any other. They believe this is the end of the line for Dale, but his smile says otherwise. He gathers his mana, ready to prove that expected is not in his vocabulary. But as the battle begins, a pair of glowing eyes pierces the darkness. A wave of pure, absolute authority washes over the entire arena. The other mages can only watch in confusion, unable to comprehend this power. But their confusion turns to shock as the Headless Knight dismounts. The fearsome guardian kneels before Dale, offering its complete submission. Dale's eyes are cold, his will now completely dominating the guardians. He's not just fighting a monster, he's rewriting its very existence. With his control absolute, he gives the creature one final chilling command. The knight obeys without question, its own blade ending its duty. Dale finds its loyalty fascinating, a power that overrides its own purpose. Dale's eyes narrow, a cold calculation behind his gaze. He admits to himself that maybe, just maybe, he went a little overboard. After all, making a guardian betray its own creator is proof he's already on an elder's level. With his point more than proven, he decides it's time to head back. The other mages can only watch in confusion as he walks away from the trial. But Dale knows there are certain lines that even he shouldn't cross just yet. Beyond this tier lies a realm of true unknowns, and so his trial comes to an end. With his victory, the entire Tower Trial event is officially concluded. The Tower Master arrives and the mages stand in unison like a military parade. Nobles and elders alike pay their respects to the Duke and his prodigal son. Thanks to Dale's overwhelming performance, his reputation has begun to spread. The Northern Territories are now starting to unite under the banner of House Saxon. Inspired by their young master, the Black Cavalry fights with renewed ferocity. Their loyalty to Dale has become an unstoppable force on the battlefield. They now charge into battle with his name on their lips, a new symbol of hope. And upon his return, Dale is given his first official command. He's now in charge of the Orheart Extermination Squad. You know, a normal summer job for a 10-year-old. While it's a daunting task for a child, no one dares to question his competence. As the rightful heir, he has begun his mission to unite the entire North. But his growing influence has not gone unnoticed by the powers in the capital. Back in the Duke's study, a knight reports their latest victory, 145 orcs slain. But the Duke's only concern is for his men, and Dale reports near 0 casualties. His father asks if he used magic to protect them, but Dale firmly denies it. He explains the victory was won by the skill of their knights, earning a proud smile from the Duke. Dale accepts his father's praise, his mission a complete and undeniable success. Helmet laughs, impressed by how quickly the young master has learned to command. Dale credits the Swordmaster's teachings in strategy, tactics, and swordsmanship. Helmet predicts that at this rate, Dale will be leading full-scale wars in no time. You know, normal career goals for a 10-year-old. And his training never stops, as he's seen locked in a fierce duel with Charlotte. She meets his powerful downward strike with a block, their blades clashing with incredible force. Dale's movements are a blur as he dodges and weaves through her attacks. But one of her strikes catches him completely off guard. Charlotte notes that he's improved, a rare compliment from the young knight. But she admits she still can't compare to his level of skill. She lists his achievements, from becoming a third circle mage to clearing the tower. She complains about how everyone fawns over him, and Dale can only offer an awkward smile. He tries to reassure her, telling her not to worry about it. With a confident smile, he promises that she'll get stronger too. The praise leaves her flustered, a rare crack in her stoic facade. She demands he stop treating her like a child, but Dale just states the obvious. Kids these days. Dale points back, reminding her that she's a child too. He then puffs out his chest, insisting he's already an adult. Sure you are, buddy. Later, back inside the ducal estate, Helmet calls for his young student. It's time for another lesson, but this one is in the art of war. Today's topic is a classic military strategy, the hammer and anvil. Using a detailed map, Helmet lays out the fundamentals of the tactic. The cavalry acts as the hammer, smashing the enemy from the flanks. Meanwhile, the infantry holds the line, becoming the unyielding anvil. Dale realizes this strategy is only possible because of their elite black cavalry. But with the lesson concluded, Helmet seems to have something else on his mind. Helmet asks Dale about Charlotte's training progress. He admits that while she's no Dale, her growth has been truly remarkable. Soon, she'll be ready to officially inherit House Saxon's unique aura techniques. But Dale already sees a potential problem, her compatibility with their fighting style. The narration explains that mages refine mana, while knights cultivate it into aura. Mages build their power through structured magic towers, while knights pass down their legacy through orders and sword techniques. Dale just smirks, ready for the territorial wars this new stage will bring. Guest chess club is canceled. The scene shifts, showing Charlotte unleashing a furious battle cry in a duel. She clashes with Dale, their blades meeting with incredible speed and power. Her blade glows with a fierce green aura as she unleashes a powerful thrust. The attack is a blur of motion, the tip of her rapier aimed right at Dale's throat. The narration explains that the Black Cavalry style is like a charging war chariot. The Knights of House Saxon specialize in overwhelming their enemies with raw, crushing power. But Charlotte's technique is the exact opposite, focusing on speed and fluid motion. While her talent is undeniable, perhaps even enough to join the 7 Swordmasters, Dale knows that with her current style, she'll never become the first sword. That title belongs to the one who stands at the very pinnacle of swordsmanship, a position once held by the legendary hero she looks up to, her own father. A vision of the divine sword, Bardell Orheart, appears, the very legacy she's fighting to protect. Dale identifies the lost art as the legendary Sword of Blossom. Helmut laments that the powerful sword style is now lost to time. It vanished completely with the fall of the Teutonia kingdom. But Dale wonders if such a powerful art could truly be gone forever. In the following days, Dale's training only intensified, his reputation growing with every battle. But his progress is interrupted by some very unwelcome news for the Duke. A messenger reports that a neighboring baron has declared a territorial war over a copper mine. Dale knows this is absurd. A minor noble would never dare challenge a duke. Unless, of course, that minor noble had some very powerful friends. The messenger confirms their suspicions. Count Brandenburg is backing the baron's claim. Brandenburg is lending his personal knight order in exchange for a share of the mine's profits. Dale grits his teeth, realizing exactly what kind of game the Count is playing. He knows Brandenburg hasn't forgotten his humiliation, and Dale is more than happy to answer in kind.